So, Johnny said to me, I want you to come and speak about celebration. And I thought, that sounds good. I think it sounds similar to something I spoke about here before, but we're going to change it a little bit. But just arriving here this morning, when I heard some of the stories just in our little pre-service gathering about people wading through floods because they were so determined to get here, I thought there's something about this place that is actually working. People want to come and celebrate, so half of my work's done already, so that's quite handy. But Johnny's quite a detailed kind of guy, and so he sent me an email and he kind of set out what I should be saying to you. I just want to read what he said. He said, let's celebrate with praise and worship him with our lives. Let's see what the Bible has to say about celebration. Let's celebrate from a place of gratitude because of what he's done and of his great love, and let's celebrate ultimately in his victory. I thought, that's good. I like that. So my aim today is simply this. I am hoping that as I tell a few stories and as we look at a few places in the Bible where God's people celebrate, you will leave this place wanting to live a life of celebration, whether the life is going well or whether it's not, or anything in between. That is what I'm hoping to get across to you today. So you know where I'm going with this, so you can kind of give me marks out of 10 afterwards as to whether I get there. Perhaps don't do that. My ego can't take it. But if we think of us in here, wading through floods to get here, I wonder what it's like for people who don't have Jesus in their lives. It's been a long time since that's been the case for me. But if we were to go out and about and actually find anybody who's as daft as we are to actually get through the wind and the rain to come here, and we were to ask them what they thought about Christians, I wonder what they'd say. There might well be some people that we might meet out there who would say, Christians, I don't think I know any. That would be quite sad if that was the case. Maybe some people would think, well, Christians, what do I know about Christians? They're homophobic, they're anti-abortion, they're anti-this, they're anti-that. We are often known for what we're supposedly against more than what we're actually for. Our PR hasn't always been that good. But I wonder how many people you would meet who would say, the Christians I know are the most joy-filled, celebratory people I have ever met. Sound unlikely? Well, do you know when people were talking about Jesus in his day, this is what was said about Jesus. The Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they say, here is a glutton and a drunkard, a friend of tax collectors and sinners. See, Jesus loved to hang out with the wrong type of people, and he really enjoyed doing so. I wonder why it is the church has drifted so far from the founders' original plans and ideas. Could it be that actually what Johnny is calling us to, and you to here as a church, is much more in line with the heartbeat of God and his Son Jesus Christ? So I've been thinking about my own life, just preparing for this, and thinking about when have I really lived a life of celebration? And to be honest with you, the time I think I probably had a time of celebration most was when I was actually before coming to Garstang, although that's been quite a celebration itself. But Sue and I lived as part of a small team up in the Lake District before we came to Garstang. And it was a new startup, and new startups are always exciting and they're times for celebration. And I love the fact that this is still quite new and it's still moving forward. And this body here, you are setting off with the really good intentions of being a community of celebration. I love that. So the idea of our little thing that we did in Witherslack, that was what the village was called, was that our little team, there was 4 of us to start with, would move into a village where we didn't know anybody, and we would live what we called a 7-year odyssey we called Outreach House. We felt God was calling us to be missionaries into that community. And it wasn't going to be easy because we're going to have to depend totally on God to provide for us, and we had a kind of rhythm of life, which meant every morning we would study the Bible. And over the 7 years, we'd set out to study all the way from Genesis 1, all the way through the Bible, a bit every day, until we got to the end of Revelation over 7 years. And in the afternoon, we would kind of try and grow food and provide for ourselves and get involved in our community. In the evening, we would get involved with things actually happening in the community. So as we went through, we found this was quite hard work. It wasn't always easy to trust God to look after us. It wasn't always easy in a place where people practically didn't want to speak to us. Once they'd heard that we were kind of Christians, we got the cold shoulder fairly regularly. They kind of thought, oh, there's those nutters who believe in Jesus. We had that reputation. So to try and encourage us, every time we finished the study of a book, we had a mini celebration to say, well done, guys, we've finished another book. And as we went through the Bible, those kind of end time celebrations for each book became a real kind of focal point of our community life. And slowly, little by little, others kind of looked at us and kind of joined in as well. Some of my absolute favourites, we did a study of the book of Job, which isn't altogether a happy book, if you know that. And when Job is saying, God, why is life so awful? One of the great answers, I think, in that book is God kind of says, have you seen the ostrich? And I think, hey, how does that work? God kind of says to Job, have you looked around you? Just look at the creation I've made. Look at some of the animals I've made. You don't think I know what I'm doing? So we thought, how can we celebrate the book of Job? So somebody had the bright idea, let's go to a zoo. So I don't know if you know, there's a zoo up at the Dalton in Furness, and we went there and we just had a blast, just looking at all these incredible animals that God had made and just loving the fact that God's creation is so diverse and so wonderful. It cost an absolute fortune to get in, but my goodness, we really enjoyed it because we were celebrating God's creation. That was one celebration I really loved. And then we did the book of Kings. And kings are known to have banquets. So I think this might have been my idea, actually. I think I said to our best cook, and it could have been Susan, but it wasn't actually, it was one of our other teammates. I said, wouldn't it be great to have a kingly banquet? And she said, oh, I'd like to do that. Thank goodness for that. So our teammate Maria just cooked this incredible kingly banquet. And as we turned up, we were all given little crowns to wear, and we had robes round us, and we had serviettes, and we had she decorated this place beautifully. And then the food arrived. It was just awesome. And we pigged out. And we said, for Jesus, give me another bit of that. It was just fantastic. So we did that, and every time we finished a book, we had a celebration. And that kept us going through some of the dark times. And I have to say, going through Psalms, there's a lot of Psalms. And it was kind of quite a dry period. But when we got to the end of that, we sang and we celebrated. So that was one of our little celebrations that we did. But when we got to the end of the Old Testament, we thought, how are we going to celebrate this in style? So we've been studying about the Babylonians and the Assyrians and the Egyptians. So somebody had the bright idea. Let's go to London, to the British Museum, and look at all the artefacts from all these ancient cultures and see some of the things we've been reading about. So that's what we did. We went down to London, we stayed in a cheap, cheerful B&B, and we went to the British Museum, and we had a blast. It was superb. And I have to confess, in the evening, someone said, shall we go and do a show? And we had somebody who was part of our team who had a bit more money than the rest of us, and she said, I'll treat you to tickets to a show. What do you fancy? And we said, I don't care, you book what you like. We ended up watching, what was it called? Calendar Girls. It's quite good. So anyway, you're not taping this, are we? So you're moving on. So that was the end of the Old Testament, and we just had fun doing it. And then we thought, how are we going to better that? When we get to the end of the New Testament, what's going to be the celebration of all celebrations? Well, in the New Testament, you see this clash of cultures as Jesus arrives on the scene to say, you think Rome's in charge. Rome? Nothing. King Jesus, he's the real one in charge. And so we thought, Rome? Can we? Yes! So we basically cashed in everything we've got and managed to pay for tickets for our entire team to go to Rome for a long weekend. And it was just fantastic. The weather was great. We ate outdoors. We went to the Colosseum. We went to all those kind of places. It was just a blast. And we just said, thank you, Lord, for getting us through 7 years and for all that we've learned. And we celebrated well. We really celebrated well. So those were some of the big celebrations, but that wasn't enough for our little team. We got into the groove of this. So at Christmas, we thought, how are we going to do Christmas? So again, we decided to have a party. And we weren't just going to keep this good news to ourselves. So we invited all the neighbours. So all the neighbours, the first year, were thinking, right, let's go and see what these natters are up to. So like everybody came, all the neighbours came, and they were kind of all sitting there, all prim and proper, thinking, what are they going to be like, these Christians? So we had a competition during the course of the evening, boys versus girls. We had just silly games, we got people dressing up, we got people doing all the sorts of things that most people hate. And so next year, not so many of them came. But they realised that we were people who were enjoying ourselves, and it set a standard. And people then were a little bit, they didn't quite know what to make of us. These are Christians and they're happy. We loved it. We loved it. When it came to Easter, we thought we'll start Lent properly. So we decided to have a party on Pancake Night, Shrove Tuesday. And I think I might have mentioned this before. We again, threw the doors open, said anyone from the village can come to our pancake party. We made hundreds of pancakes. But the only thing is, if you're going to come, you've got to tell a joke. And that was the entry ticket. If you can tell a joke, didn't have to make us laugh, just got to tell a joke. And loads of people came to that, and it became part of the village folklore. Pancake night, are you having your party this year? Yeah, and people actually started enjoying coming, because they wanted to come, because it was fun. The jokes were a bit dodgy, but we won't go there. Easter weekend, oh crumbs, we did Easter well. We had all sorts of poignant and fun things, treasure hunts, Easter egg hunts, we had all sorts. At the end of our 7 years, we had a Jubilee party, we had a bouncy castle, we had another feast, we did all sorts of things. But we didn't just do things for ourselves, we also did things for our community. And we tried to say to our community that we are part of what God wants to do to change the world. So we were trying to raise money to send a team from our village out to the Congo, to a war zone. And we thought, how are we going to have a fun way of raising money for this? So my friend Keith said, let's have a, what's Witherslack famous for? Wet, mud, welly boots. Let's have Witherslack Welly Weekend. We could call it WWW for sure, that might catch on. So we had Witherslack Welly Weekend, and we had loads of Wellington boot games, fling a boot, put plants in a boot, eat your food out of a boot. And we didn't really know too many people locally, but we had got to know a few people, so we invited all the celebrities we could find. Our MP, Tim Farron, came and he got really stuck in. We got the DJs from the local radio station. We tried to set a world record for the most people dancing the conga wearing Wellington boots, which was quite something. Watching all these people go, da, 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 da. Yeah, anyway, we enjoyed it, and we didn't set the world record, but we actually had a lot of fun trying to. And we raised quite a lot of money, and people sort of said, you're going to send a team out to the Congo, can we help, can we get involved? And somebody there was the person who runs the Windermere steamers. I don't know if you've ever seen those. And he said, I love what you're trying to do, I'll give you a steamer for a day. Give it to you, and a crew, and you do what you like with it. So we had this huge steamer, and we hired a jazz band, and we hired proper professional caterers, and we charged about 30 quid a head, and we invited people to come. If they wanted to come, they could actually come and enjoy a day cruising up and down Windermere, and we raised thousands. Our team was 4 of us. And it just goes to show me what can be done when you want to live a life of celebration. When celebration's in your heart, it's catching. You know, a lot of people have come here, I think, because you're picking up a vibe that this is a celebratory group of people for whom Christianity isn't dull and lifeless, it's the very essence of life. A life of joy, a life that actually has meaning and purpose. So where did all these celebrations come from? Well, they came, funnily enough, from the Bible. See, when we went through the Old Testament, as we were reading about God's people, the Jews, what we realised fairly quickly was that God's people are supposed to live a life of celebration. In fact, God commands it. Celebrations are often a time to look back and see where you've come from, and they're also a time to look forward in hope of where you're going. So it really is the kind of 3 tenses, if you like, of God. Looking back, enjoying yourself in the present, and looking forward in hope. It really points us to God. So if my excellent assistants can help me now, I want to give you a quick tour, and it will be a quick tour, of the 7 key celebrations that you see in the Old Testament. Because the Jews we've come out of the Jews. Jesus was a Jew, and so the Jews knew how to celebrate. So to inspire you and to get you thinking as a church, I just want to kind of very quickly kind of go through what the key 7 celebrations of the Old Testament were. Quick slurp while they're coming up here. So these are yours to take away. So I'm not intending to go through these in too much detail, but hopefully these might be something to follow up on in the days ahead. So I'm just going to do a whistle-stop tour now blueprint of celebration as found in the Old Testament. So I haven't got what you've got, but I'm hoping you'll have the first one being the Passover. If you get to the bit, I think it's probably on the second page. Yeah, so you've got the Passover. Fantastic. Now, most of you, I'm sure, will know what the Passover is all about. Some of you may not. So let me give you a very quick recap. God's people started out with Abraham, a man who trusted God, and it was credited to him as being the very thing that pleased God. Abraham went on to have offspring. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Jacob had 12 sons including a guy called Joseph. Joseph found himself in Egypt, and all his brothers joined him down in Egypt. They then bred like rabbits. There was an awful lot of Jews in Egypt, and the Pharaoh got a bit worried that these people might turn against him, so he used the Jews as his slave labour force. They were unable to be free, and they cried out to God to set them free from their bondage. And God sent them a rescuer, a guy called Moses. And Moses came in and did battle with the Pharaoh who was in charge of all Egypt. And the battle basically was to show that the gods the Egyptians worshipped weren't really gods at all. And so the true God was more powerful than the gods they thought were in charge. And so a battle raged. And there were a number of plagues that God had to send